Let's talk about trading Nikolaj Ehlers. Not because I think that's a good thing, not saying that I want this to happen, but it's a cause for concern because it is quite a hot topic right now. The topic of Nikolaj Ehlers being on the trading block, potentially being sent over to places like Carolina or Buffalo, these teams popping up in this discussion as potential trade destinations. There was an article posted onto the Winnipeg Sun just earlier this week talking about why trading Ehlers would be a regrettable move. This is an article talking about Nikolaj Ehlers as a whole, what he brings to the Winnipeg Jets, how he is as a player, the overall concerns with him, and why he's being pitted in these trade scenarios, and the overall consensus amongst his perspective on why Ehlers should not be traded. And for the most part, this is a fair article. It goes into deep statistics, it goes into playoffs, and all these perspectives as to why you would want to talk about this. But summing all this up in general, Nikolaj Ehlers is a young Danish winger. Yes, he is young. 23 years of age, a left-wing 6-foot player who's got some pretty good NHL stats already in his young NHL career. Playing in the NHL 199 points in 298 games, just over 2 points every 3 NHL games, that's certainly not bad. However, his most recent season riddled by injury and only getting himself 37 points in 62 games, as well as the fact that he has 0 playoff goals in 21 playoff games in total, there's a lot to be said about Nikolaj Ehlers as to why somebody would want to trade him. Ehlers is on a 7-year, $6 million contract, and he's heading into the second year of that contract this year. He doesn't have a modified no-trade clause until 2022, so there's an ability to trade him if you desire, because he doesn't have the right to say no. However, this article here on Winnipeg Sun goes over a great amount of detail as to what Ehlers brings, aside from getting points and getting goals. Things like zone entries and controlled zone entries and shot contributions and all that stuff. It's all comparable to some really high-quality NHL players, like Connor McDavid, for example. I'm not going to go into that. If you want to read more about that, I'll leave a link in the description to this article. But combined with turnovers, defensive zone coverage, and an overall lack of offensive production in the playoffs, these are some of the things that make Ehlers a potential trade target on the trading block. Specifically, the Carolina Hurricanes have been brought up in this discussion. They were specifically one of the teams mentioned leading up to the 2019 draft, this article says. That makes sense because the Hurricanes stock up on their Europeans, adding a Dane like Ehlers would mesh well with guys like Aho, etc. And then this article also talks about Buffalo and Rasmus Ristolainen being a potential connection there. Again, this article goes over why, in the writer's perspective, this would be uneven, not good, and it would be overall a loss for the Winnipeg Jets. But as a result, the Jets are in a position where they do have the potential to move Ehlers. They do have the freedom to do that, and overall there would be varying opinions as to why that would make sense. But at its core, Ehlers is a young Danish winger who has a boatload of potential, a guy who's hit 60 points before, and a guy who's probably going to do it again a few times, potentially even 70, maybe even 80 points by the time he's in his prime, and he's a guy who meshes well with the Jets system now. So trading a guy like Ehlers, to me, it doesn't necessarily seem like the smartest move, especially if you're just going to go after a mid-20s right-handed defenseman. I don't really see the value lining up there, but overall, it's a discussion to be had. Hope you enjoyed this video. Social Dash Rosa sign 9, and bye.